Okay, so today we're going to talk about point-slope form equation of a line. So before we get to the formula, let's remember what the formula is for slope. And by the way, I need you to memorize the slope formula, okay? So who can tell me what the formula for slope is? Who has it memorized already, actually? Oh, very good. Megan, tell us what it is. And if you write it enough times, and I write M equals, M for memorize, no, M for slope. Why M for slope? Because of the French. Just blame it on, probably Descartes. Just blame it on him. M for, I think it stands for mesure, which just basically means something in French. Something to do with slope, probably. Okay, so you need to memorize this formula. Now, notice that it's a fraction, right? It really is the rise over the run. Slope is rise over run. But if I write M over, what's M's denominator? Everything has a denominator, right? Of 1. So if I write M over 1, and then I cross multiply like we learned with proportions, I get Y2, oops, that pen's no good. Y2 minus Y1 is equal to M times X2 minus X1. Now, let's say I had the slope already. I already knew what the slope was. Well, why do I know what the slope is? Well, because I had the slope formula, so I must have calculated it. If I have the slope and 1 point, then I can change these to variables. Y minus Y1 equals M times X minus X1. And if I have the slope and I have a point, then I can use this formula. You notice that this is the exact, we just basically took the slope formula, did some math, the cross multiplication, cross products, right, are equal in a proportion, because these are just two equivalent fractions. And then I rearranged it so that I have a new form. This is called the point-slope form of the equation of a non-vertical line, because we talked about vertical lines are just x equals a number, of a non-vertical line with a slope of m through the ordered pair x1, y1. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking to yourself, well, why do I need another form? I already have y equals mx plus b, and what's that form called? The what? Slope-intercept form. It's one of the most famous line graphing forms, right? This form is great if you know that the slope is, let's say, 4, and you know that the y-intercept is, let's say, 3. What would be the equation of that line? If I gave you this point and this slope, what would be the equation of that line? 4x plus 3. Or you could say y equals 3 plus 4x, right? Y equals 3 plus 4x would be also the same. Now, that was great, and that works because what point were you given, and how do you know you were given that point? What point is this? It's the y-intercept. How do you know that it's the y-intercept? X is 0. Since x is 0, x equals 0 is the equation of the y-axis. So you only have the y-intercept if you have the point where x is 0. That's how you know. When you see x is 0, you're like, oh, you're a y-intercept. But if I give you another point, could you still have a line? Let's say you have the slope. Well, actually, let's go to this one right here. In the equation above, it is important to note that x and y are variables, and m, x1, and y1 are all numbers, okay? So in this example right here, find the equation of a line with the slope of 3 going through the point 2, 4. Then simplify the equation so that it is written in slope-intercept form. Draw a sketch of this function to confirm that your answer is correct. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we had some graph paper? Geez. Probably, maybe there was graph paper on here and I didn't print it or something. I don't know. So what is the problem here? Why can't I use the y equals mx plus b for this information? You don't know the y-intercept. How come you don't know the y-intercept? X is 2. So this is where we use the point slope form, okay? Point slope means that I have one point that is not the y-intercept, and I have the slope is already given to me. So I'm going to use this equation. I'm going to say, okay, my slope m is equal to 3. My point is 2, 4. So that's my x1. That's my y1. Why am I saying that that's x1 and y1? Yeah, it's an ordered pair, exactly. So now we're going to plug all of that in. Y minus what? 4 is equal to 3, because that's m, right? Times what? X minus 2. Now, that is not that, it's not that friendly of an equation. It's there. It is the point slope form. It's done. But you're used to graphing things that are in slope equal, or y equals mx plus b. You're used to seeing the slope and the y-intercept. You could graph this, and I am cringing at myself right now for not using a ruler and not having graph paper. But let's just sketch a graph, okay? Here's our y-axis, here's our x-axis. If I plot the point 1, 2, and then the point 1, 2, 3, 4, so 2, 4, I can graph this using a slope of 3, right? I'm going to go down 3 because I don't have much room to go over there. I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, back 1. Okay. How many points do I technically need to make a straight line? Yeah, I like how you said 3. You technically only need 2, but I told you to be safe, you should always use 3. So this is just a sketch of what this looks like, and I don't know why I didn't throw out this pen already because it still doesn't work. What's that? Where do I get what? 1. Oh, the rise over the run. Because what's 3's denominator? 1. So this means I have a rise of 3 and a run of 1, or a rise of negative 3 and a run of negative 1. Because I didn't want to go up and over, I ran out of space. I went down 1, 2, 3. That's negative 3 rise. I went backwards 1. You see that? So it's like a little triangle there. Okay. Well, we want to know what the y-intercept is, especially because my graph is a mess and it's not even drawn to scale and there's no graph paper and it's just like, it's the worst looking graph you could possibly have, right? Do you agree with me on that? It gets the job done-ish, but we don't even know what the y-intercept is. Is there a way for me to right now find the y-intercept? What would I need to do? What would I need to do? Well, I want to know from my equation what I expect it to be. What could I do to my equation to get it into, they said, write it in slope-intercept form. After you do it in point slope, this is point slope right here, point slope form. Now I want to get it into slope-intercept form. How would I do that? Yes, I could do that, but I want the equation. So let's get the equation. If we can get y by itself, then we will know the slope and the y-intercept. Yes? How would I do that? Yeah, and I want to get y by itself, right? What do I do to solve for y, to get y by itself? What do I have to do? By what? So I have to distribute the 3 first. I get y minus 4 equals 3x. Tell me what's next. Minus 6, good. And now what? Add 4 to both sides because we want to get y by itself. Add 4, add 4. Y equals 3x minus 2. So that's the y-intercept there would be 0, negative 2. And that has a slope of 3. Does that make sense, what I did just there? Okay. Let's try another example. Let's see what time I'm at on this video. I wish it would tell me the time. Okay, 10 minutes actually. Let's stop it and do a